you look at some of the studies within our school system showing kids are falling way behind in things that they actually need, like math and reading. New study that just came out, math and reading, national assessment, NAEP scores for kids, 13-year-olds, show that they're falling again. I mean, our kids are falling academically. We need to be on top if we're going to continue being the world's most prosperous place. If we want to be the number one economy, I'm telling you, China is right there on our heels. And apparently, Joe Biden is right there with them, helping them along via his son, Hunter. Look, we don't know that for sure, but you tell me. Let's take another look at the Hunter Biden text. Make sure you tell me if you do not hear me speaking right now, if the microphone goes out, because last time I tried to read this text, you know what happened? The microphone went completely silent. So I want to make sure that does not happen again, because this is important, especially for the people that are listening to the audio version of this podcast. I want you to hear what is in this text message. Here we go. Sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will not regret, that you will regret not following my decision. Following my direction. There we go. Every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I mean, is this like the mafia? The Biden crime family? They're living up to the name? I mean, that sounds like some kind of mafia threatening text message. Hey, buddy, over there in China, who, by the way, has a business partner who is head of the state intelligence bureau in China. A little weird, right? Hey, buddy, you better pay up. And if you don't pay up, I'm going to hold a grudge forever. Not only am I going to hold a grudge, but my dad, the big guy, is going to hold a grudge. He didn't actually say dad, but he said, I'm here at my father's, right? Let's take one more look. And again, make sure the volume's up. Sitting here with my father. Okay. So there you go. He's sitting there with his father. And this is dated from a time when apparently he was there at his father's house in Delaware, because the Washington Free Beacon, they have a reporting investigative unit, nonprofit, that went and found some metadata showing a picture of none other than Hunter Biden on that day at his father's house with his family, all around, ironically, the Corvette. So that certainly seems like a smoking gun to me. And this is one that, even the media cannot ignore. I want to get to what Ted Cruz is saying, because this is actually going to be pretty monumental. I think that Joe Biden very well could be looking at an impeachment there by the House. It's something Ted Cruz is suggesting. Numerous House members have also suggested it. And now, as we get more and more evidence coming to us via these whistleblowers, 2 of them, it suggests that there was definitely some kind of interference going on, and that's not right. Americans, we deserve so much more than that. We are not a banana republic. I'm sorry. You know what? We are not. We are not pay to play. And it's absolutely pathetic that the IRS was not able to follow through with all of its investigation or to formally seek charges because of, the importance of daddy. Mainstream media is not even going to be able to ignore this. I mean, I know they had the submersible, right, for a little while there. You had a few days of the Titanic. I mean, just a horrible story. They're devastating, of course, and that distracted everyone. But now they're back at it. Here is the clipping here. Let me show you this clip from the White House. This is Karine Jean-Pierre, who is the spokesperson, just getting pummeled by reporters. This is a rare occurrence, but I believe some of these were conservative reporters, including some from the Daily Caller. Take a listen.
Can I follow up on that?
No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask, whether the President of the United States was involved, as this message seems to suggest, in some sort of a coercive conversation for business dealings by his son? Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us?
So here's the thing, and I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House counsel has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared, and so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
I will. What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House counsel. I just don't have anything else to share.
In the shakedown attempt?
I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
No, you didn't. Yes or no? Was the president involved in the shakedown attempt?
Stephen, I just answered the question. It's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House counsel has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, they actually haven't. And they hadn't been dealing with it. And so there are still many, many unanswered questions. I mean, Attorney General Merrick Garland is trying to deal with it in his own special way, trying to suggest, some people are asking whether or not he's perjured himself here, trying to suggest, no, you know what, there was no interference. Absolutely not. The attorney, David Weiss, he had full right to move ahead with an investigation. Of course, that's not what the whistleblowers are telling us. That's not what the whistleblowers are saying at all. There's one that's been identified, Mr. Shapley. There's another that prefers to remain anonymous. And what the whistleblowers have said is actually just the opposite. Whistleblowers are saying, we wanted to move forward, and David Weiss was intending to move forward both in D.C. and in California, but we were all stopped. That's concerning. Anyway, here's Attorney General Merrick Garland saying exactly the opposite. Listen.
Do you think, just to follow on that, do you think that a special counsel, can you explain the rationale for not appointing a special counsel in this case?
Mr. Weiss had, in fact, more authority than a special counsel would have. He had and has complete authority, as I said, to bring a case anywhere he wants in his discretion.
Really? Well, then why didn't it happen? Again, whistleblowers coming forward saying he didn't have that authority. He didn't have it at all. In which case, this turns into some much bigger mess. Whether or not Joe Biden knew what was going on, I think it's natural that he did. I think it's natural you'd ask your kid about their business, and it kind of seems like it's a family business, at least from some of the reports that we have gotten out of Congress, suggesting there's a whole lot of money there. They're alleging that as much as $10 million was going to the Biden family. So regardless of that, for just a moment, just think about how it appears to the American public that Joe Biden's son is under investigation and David Weiss, the attorney, can actually bring forward charges, can actually pursue this because, daddy's the president. So that's not going to happen. Well, this is not going over well with members of Congress, with conservatives overall. And frankly, I think this is going to become an issue really for the middle of the country too, because nobody wants the stench of corruption around our leaders. We're sick of it. It's bad enough already. And then to think that this stuff might be going on. Anyway, here's Jason Smith. He is the Republican congressman from Missouri. He's just on a, blazing trail right now, trying to get to the bottom of all of this. He appeared with my former colleague, Maria Bartiromo. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Whistleblowers, more than one, are telling us the exact opposite. In fact, they said that there was not independence in the Justice Department with the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. That U.S. Attorney in Delaware, according to the whistleblowers, tried to bring charges in the District of Columbia and was denied. Tried to bring charges in Central District of California, was denied. Requested a special...
If they requested a special counsel, if they requested the ability to bring charges in California, in D.C., and they're denied, then you just have to ask why. Especially when Garland keeps telling us, no. Weiss had the full ability to do whatever he wanted to do. This just leads to more and more questions, which means impeachment is all the more likely. Listen to Senator Ted Cruz out of Texas talking about exactly that. He doesn't quite say it. I'm going to get to the part where he does in just a moment. But here he is over the weekend on Fox.
We have seen the Biden Department of Justice is, I think, the most politicized we've ever seen in this country. Merrick Garland, sadly, is the most political and partisan attorney general we've ever seen. And it's done enormous damage to the integrity of DOJ and the FBI. I'm an alumnus of DOJ. The Department of Justice has a long history of being apolitical, of applying the law fairly and one standard of law for everyone.
Not anymore, right? And that's what he goes on to say. Then he came out on his podcast and said, you know what? The House needs to be looking at impeachment. Now, I'm just going to say, me personally, this is the first time, I mean, I'm no fan of Joe Biden and this administration, believe me, but this is the first time I've thought to myself, you know what? We do need to impeach. We do need to be looking at this much. I mean, you impeach in the House, you convict in the Senate. So I would not be surprised to see an impeachment because this is a big enough deal now. This is scandalous enough. When you have a text message like that, when you are looking at Hunter Biden informing an associate over there in China who happens to also have an associate who's part of the state intel committee in China, and you have him saying, look, you got to pay up or else pay up. You know, my dad, that man in the other room, I'm sitting here with my father, and he's going to make sure that everyone knows and nobody's going to do anything with you guys again. I mean, that's pretty bad. So this is not looking good for Biden. Of course, that could be, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole of what some have suggested, it could be by design, right? Because they would love for Gavin Newsom to be running as opposed to Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, who even over the weekend, it was sort of supposed to be a joke, admitted, he's like, I know I'm 198 years old, but blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's gotten to the point now where he even recognizes it. He's up there. He is the oldest we've had. He would be what would he be, like 86 by the time he left? So the Democrats are positioning Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of California, who, cuts a good picture. Yeah, he looks good. He's tall. He's got the slicked back hair, if you're into that. And he kind of gives all this, kind of whatever, wholesome, younger, anyone's going to give off a younger image. And they want that. And so you've got to also ask yourself, is there any chance at all that this is by design? That they really want him to go? And maybe this would just be the easiest exit. Because when you look at the polling data, it certainly suggests Joe Biden is extremely vulnerable. And there are multiple reasons for that, including just what's going on over there in Ukraine and Russia, including what's going on right here with our border, including things like that parade we just saw over the weekend, including Target, Bud Light, all this stuff. So from a cultural perspective, from an economic perspective, from an inflation perspective, things are not looking good for Biden. So they do need a new personality in there. I don't necessarily think Gavin Newsom would be your best candidate, only because, even with the slick back hair, he's got the reality of people leaving California in droves because of the insane tax policy, because of the inability of places like San Francisco, where he used to be mayor, to clean up their act. You got companies pulling out. You've got hotels saying, we don't want to be here. We don't want to be in San Francisco or in California. It is too dangerous and it is too expensive. Wow. Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.